Everybody, it's Chainsaw Reacts here once again with another tier list video. Today I'm ranking all of the Mastodon albums in order. Now, as you notice in the not ranked section there at the bottom is Medium Rarities, which came out that featured one new song officially, Fallen Torches, and it had a mixture of like instrumental songs, live performances, and some songs that were released over the years of Mastodon's career but never released on an album before. It's kind of hard to rank that, so I'm not going to. It's cool, it's awesome they did that, but not ranking it. Now, to me, Mastodon is my second favorite band of all time, right behind Metallica. Love this band so much. And the reason why I'm doing this video is for two reasons. Number one, I did film a version of this like a year and a half, 2 years ago. It wasn't a great video. I'm glad I never released it, but it wasn't good. So I'm glad I didn't release it. So I'm going to try again here and make a better version of this video. And number two, unfortunately, recently Brent Hinds, after 25 years of the band, the lead guitarist and one of the vocalists, Brent Hinds, unfortunately has left the band. Why, we don't really know for sure, but they're saying a mutual decision. Regardless, I love this band to death. So we're going to go in order. Now, Call of the Mastodon, there at the very start, technically that version of that, album came out a few albums into their career, but it's their first official material. And to me, as you see, S, A, B, C, to me, C is middle of the road. And I don't think any album from Mastodon is below a C. But we'll get this out of the way and we'll discuss it a little bit. We're putting Call of the Mastodon and Remission in C. Now, Remission needs to go above. There we go. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is just being honest. Call of the Mastodon, that's the album I've heard the least from the band. It's good. It's got some good stuff. Remission is, to me, better. But honestly, I really got latched on to Mastodon after the kind of heaviness started to drift away. I love heaviness. I love heavy bands. But to me, what made me love Mastodon is when they started to progress and grow and start to add new things and continue to progress as they're moving further and further into their career. So, to me, these albums are middle of the road. There's some great moments, some decent moments, some, it's okay, but they're still pretty solid records. Don't get me wrong, they're still pretty solid. So, that's where I kind of stand. I love the fact that, hey, they were heavy early on, but they didn't really find their footing, in my opinion, until later on. So we're going to see a huge jump up though, because we go from these two records which are heavy, and there are people, fans of these albums, that hate where they progressed and moved to, and that's completely fine. But for me, I'm not one of those people. I love the fact that they grew and were able to change and grow and do something different with their music that made sense to them, right? Because you as a fan, that's fine if you don't like the later stuff after these records. But to them, they wanted to grow and do something more. But here's the big jump. Leviathan, their second official record, it's called the Mastodon. It's still like questionable. Is it a full album? I think it is, but regardless, Leviathan to me is an A. It still has the heaviness, like Megalodon, has that just insaneness, Blood and Thunder. But you look at Hearts Alive, 13 plus minutes. Like, I think that was their true stance of like showing that they're going to go more progressive, because that is an epic 13 plus minute track. And then right after it, Joseph Merrick to close out the record. It's a beautiful two-part kind of wrap-up of the album, and it shows where they're heading in terms of more melodic, more progressive, and I appreciate that. But the album's still heavy. The sound quality, production, I know production's not the thing, the end all be all, and it really isn't for me either, but I wish there was a remaster of this album just to kind of hear and make things a little bit more clearer. But that's just me, because the album did have a 20-year anniversary last year. But the way it stands, Leviathan is great. And Blood Mountain, I've debated, because I think Blood Mountain's a better record overall, but there are some moments I think Leviathan's sometimes better. But I'm going to stick with this right now. I think Blood Mountain is still an A album. It's above Leviathan, but it's kind of hard to argue that because they're both great in their own ways. Now, Blood Mountain has This Mortal Soil, which to me is a very underrated track. It's a song a lot of Mastodon fans don't talk about, but I love it. Can't get enough of that song alone. And then you look at other tracks like Sleeping Giant. You see where they are taking things that are still like in Remission and Leviathan and still carrying it over in some instances in Blood Mountain, but they're really pushing themselves even more so. And I can't get enough of these two records, Leviathan and Blood Mountain. But once we get past this record is where they fully start to embrace the new era. Because to me, Leviathan and Blood Mountain still have that essence of Remission and Call of the Mastodon, but then it's not like it's completely gone, because they still have heaviness throughout their music, but it starts to evolve and change. But they really had a huge step up, in my opinion, after Remission and Call of the Mastodon. You see the huge shift there. Crack the Skye, S tier, no question. To me, it's their magnum opus, aka the greatest thing they've ever done. To me, is Crack of the Skye. Crack of the Skye, no question. I listened to that record on the way to see my mom and my grandmother over the weekend as I'm filming this video, and from start to finish, I never got bored once again, and I couldn't stop singing, and I couldn't stop just humming guitar parts and just falling in love with this album again. And I've heard it so many times from beginning to end. So to do it once again in a car, like I've done before, just proved over and over and over this is the best record they've ever done. Sure, they've had some great albums like Blood Mountain and Leviathan before, but I think this is where they hit their peak, in my opinion. They could still outdo this record. It's going to be hard, especially now that Brent is unfortunately gone, but to me, this is where they hit their peak. This is where they hit the highest of highs. The Last Baron, a 13-plus minute closer, it is phenomenal, that song. Even the Tsar, which it technically is like a 4 or 5 piece like part of songs, and they just meshed all together, because it basically has like a bunch of different like, sub names to that. In Oblivion, of course, the opening track is just, and of course, Crack the Skye. Like, the whole record kills it. This is unfortunately where things start to kind of go down a little bit. We have The Hunter 2 years later. It is hard to follow up Crack the Skye, but as they've always said in interviews, they've always made a point that we're never going to make the same record that we just did. Like, we're always going to evolve, we're always going to change. I remember specifically during Hushed and Grim when they were doing the making of, which I watched the whole thing. I think it was Bill who stated that we're never going to like put out the same record. Like, he was reiterating it again. We're always going to evolve, always going to do something experimental, something different. We're not going to be stagnant. So they're correct. The Hunter is going more experimental. Like, they're still keeping essence of what they've done before, but they're pushing and are trying to do something. If they're trying to not make Crack the Skye Part 2, which I appreciate. Unfortunately, The Hunter falls to me in B tier. Listening to this whole album, actually today as I'm recording this video, which was Sunday, I'm putting this out the next day, Monday, and The Hunter, I forgot some of the amazing stuff that's on there, honestly, because I've not heard the full album in a bit. But it doesn't reach, to me, Blood Mountain and Leviathan overall. There are some, I think, moments that definitely like compare to those two records, Blood Mountain and Leviathan, on The Hunter. But when you look at everything that album has to offer, The Hunter, it just doesn't really hit. It really just doesn't click. Where I think they should. There's some parts where I think they could have maybe cut or changed or added something to it. Because there's some songs that just feel filler. Like, they're still fun and catchy, maybe. But, But they're trying something different, right? Like, that's the goal. They're trying to do something different. Once More Around the Sun. This is where because I actually asked this question, like, on the Mastodon subreddit a few days ago. I said, what is the album you listen to the least from the band? And a lot of people that I saw were commenting either Remission, The Hunter, or Once More Around the Sun. Saw some people mention Emperor of Sands, which of course is next after Once More Around the Sun. But I saw a lot of those answers around those 3 records, Remission, The Hunter, and Once More Around the Sun, that I personally saw. I didn't read the entire thing. There was a lot of comments. But Once More Around the Sun, overall is better than The Hunter, in my opinion. I think Once More Around the Sun takes elements of The Hunter that I think worked and started to, like, mold and change, because The Hunter introduced some new concepts that we've not heard before from Mastodon, and I think they elevated it in Once More Around the Sun. Fun fact, two songs that I originally didn't really listen to hardly at all from Once More Around the Sun, they're stuck in my head. Diamond in the Witch House, the closer, and right before it, Halloween. I think it's right before the Diamond in the Witch House, Halloween. For some reason, those two songs, I remember distinctively not really listening to them that much from Once More Around the Sun, but now they're stuck in my head. I had a certain part of Diamond in the Witch House stuck in my head this morning as I was getting ready to get out of the hotel, and then I keep thinking about the opening after the song actually kicks in with Brent's vocals on Halloween. For some reason, I just can't get that out of my head. For some reason, I don't know why. Once More Around the Sun is better than The Hunter, my opinion, obviously. It's not amazing, but I think they're going in the right direction with that. Emperor of Sands. I actually didn't really know going into this video where I was actually going to rank it, because I was thinking over my head as I was thinking about, I'm gonna do this video, I'm going to film the video, but I don't know where I'm going to put Emperor of Sands. I think I need to put Emperor of Sands above, in the B tier, above these two. Maybe it's an A tier, because Jaguar God, the closer of Emperor of Sands, is one of the best songs Mastodon has ever made. That can be argued, but I'm not saying the best. I'm saying it's one of the best. It's so fantastic. And there's no other song on Emperor of Sands that comes close to Jaguar God in terms of the quality, guitar work, drums, vocals. There's some amazing stuff on Emperor of Sands. Some very catchy stuff, some really cool things they're doing, but it doesn't hit Jaguar God. If Jaguar God was on another record, like say like it was on Crack the Skye, I think it'd be perfectly fit on Crack the Skye. I know that's a concept album, so I understand it wouldn't fit, but you get what I'm saying. Like, it would work really well in that format, because Emperor of Sands, the rest of the songs, structure-wise, it's not on the same level of Jaguar God. For me, it isn't. But it is a fantastic closer. And there's some really great, because I heard this album from beginning to end on the ride here. I had like plenty of time to listen to a couple of records going to and back from like the little mini vacation. But Emperor of Sands is a damn good record. Just not amazing, or the magnum opus, Crack the Skye. Cold Dark Place, the one EP. Now, I wish there was more EPs, because based on this, it's so strange. You have a couple songs left over from Once More Around the Sun, one song left off of Emperor Sands, and you get Cold Dark Place, an EP. It's freaking fantastic. And honestly, I don't know where, I think I'm going to put it behind Leviathan and Blood Mountain, but I think Cold Dark Place EP is an A. Every single song, I think it's Toes to Toes, is that the name of it? That's the one song that I'm kind of turning on in terms of more of a positive, because at first it was the one song I was kind of like, it's okay. But Cold Dark Place, the actual title track, Northside Star, I think that's the name of it, and Blue Walsh, phenomenal, amazing songs. They're the best songs that I've heard from the band in a while up to this point before we get to Hushed and Grim. I'm like, holy shit, guys, what happened? These songs are so fantastic. We're like, comparatively, when it comes to like songs from Emperor of Sands and Once More Around the Sun, why is this EP, a 4-song EP, featuring some of the best songs you guys written in years? I don't understand. Now, obviously, the exception is Jaguar God off of Emperor of Sands, but you get what I'm trying to say. When you compare to the entirety of Once More Around the Sun and everything except Jaguar God off of Emperor of Sands, comparing it to the EP Cold Dark Place, there's a lot of like, what is going on, guys? Why'd you, like, you wrote a couple of songs that are freaking fantastic, and you have a lot of other good songs, but they're not on the same level as Cold Dark Place, like the EP. Like, what's going on? It's very strange. But that's where I kind of am on that. I wish they would do more EPs based on the quality of this. Now, I'm not assuming that if they put out, like, if we went back in time and got them to think more on songs that didn't get released on records, to put them out as EPs, like a couple of them together, every couple of years, or every couple album cycles, we get another EP. That doesn't mean the EPs they would put out hypothetically in this revision timeline where they're putting out unreleased tracks from albums that just didn't make it on, and they just finish them and put them out as an EP, that they'd be as good as Cold Dark Place. But I'd like to see what that would still be, though. But yeah. The final record until the next one that's coming, presumably 2026, I believe, Hushed and Grim, a double album. Um, I kept thinking about this today because Hushed and Grim has some beautiful, phenomenal songs from the band. There's also some other songs on Hushed and Grim that makes me think they could have reworked these or maybe didn't include them on the record overall, but they made a double album. And I appreciate the fact that at least did it because it does give us some really good, like Eyes of Serpents, Had It All, phenomenal, phenomenal songs right there. I love those two songs alone. Peace and Tranquility, The Beast, great songs. But when you get to songs like Dagger, it's okay. When you get to songs like I'm trying to think of other names, oh god, Gobblers of Drag, I think something like that. It's decent, it's pretty solid, but comparatively to the other songs that are on the record, I think it's a B. And it might be below Emperor of Sands. I might put it above. I'm kind of flip floppy on that, but I think I'm okay right here. But this might move a little bit if I thought more about it, if I had more time. Like if I had to give myself another week, maybe this would flip a little bit. But I think I'm fair to say for me, S, Crack the Skye, it's not moving. Blood Mountain, Leviathan, Cold Dark Place, not moving at A. Here, when you get to the B side, these might flip a little bit. Remission and Call the Mastodon. There's a fucking hair hanging on my head. It's like, what the fuck? I keep saying it. But the B tier might flip-flop some positions, and Call the Mastodon, Remission don't move. So, but I think the B tier would move maybe slightly. It could potentially move. I don't know. I don't see the Hunter going above anything, but maybe Emperor Sands is above Hushed and Grim. I'd have to think about it. But to me, this is where I stand at the moment. And like I stated, and maybe I said this version of the video, not the one I tried to film a little bit before I had to take a pause and try to redo it again. C, I think I did say it, but regardless, C is middle of the road, but it's not bad. Like, I think if you're a D album or F, obviously for F you're failing, but if you're a D record, there's not a lot of good moments. But C I think is the middle of the road. It's decent, but when you keep going up and up, obviously the quality for me goes up. So this is where I kind of stand. Where do you guys rank the Mastodon albums? And of course the EP as well. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think of my tier list ranking for the Mastodon records? And where would you rank the albums in order in terms of the tier list? Also, I will leave a link to this. You guys can do it yourself. And so you could send me screenshots or whatever and see where you would rank the albums. But I'm curious to know your thoughts, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Talk to you guys soon. Peace out.